podcast with me, John Fleming.
Grouchy Club Podcast, John. And this is take 2. It's unbelievable.
Take 3. This is a Grouchy.
Okay. You always say, can you give us the clap when you're filming?
Do people titter when you say that?
Not after you've said it 43 times, no.
Right.
But originally,
this is
back in 1975, when I said it for the first time, people thought it was hilarious.
It's after my time, obviously, 1975. Yes. Anyway, it's the 20th of whatever it is, June or something.
And it's the Grouchy Club Podcast. With him?
15-ish, with me, Kate Copstick.
And me, John Fleming.
Yes, there you go.
Excellent. Seamless. It's wonderful.
And we did say in take 1, which we aborted because it was so boring, that there was some child crying in the background, but there's no longer a child crying in the background.
No, I killed it.
So I won't mention that, but I will mention there is...
It will cry again in a minute.
There is Mexican music in the background.
Cuban music.
You were humorously going to say it's Cuban
child
music. Child screaming.
Children never stop screaming, not until you beat them so mercilessly that they're blinded by pain.
Got a lot of listeners with ISIS we get from the Middle East. Anyway, right.
That's Presbyterianism.
What, children
Spare
crying?
the rod and spoil the child.
Aye, my dear.
Yeah.
But you and I are both sort of slightly zonked. I'm slightly zonked because I've got hay fever and I just had a 2.5 hour journey that should have taken half an hour with Thameslink. And you were zonked because last night you had one of your many previews of the Mama Biashara African shop in Shepherd's Bush.
Might have slightly, I think the word is overfaced myself.
Overfaced?
Yeah.
Facey?
No, overfaced, to overface.
What does overface
To
mean?
overface means to, kind of put yourself at an obstacle that is too big for you.
What, like me? What?
No. Like there's millions of previews now, but
to
be brutally honest, I'm sure I would have been in a better condition had I not got completely shit-faced last night. See, actually, the last time I drank before last night, I had one single pint of beer with Misbehave. And before that, it was weeks and weeks and weeks. But last night, it was getting towards the end of a very long week. And so I thought, I'll cheer myself up.
Well, to be honest, weeks are weeks. They're not. You don't have long weeks or short weeks, really, do you?
Thank you, John.
Yes.
Hello and welcome to Pedantry Today. Today we're being pedantic about the word week.
WWK.
Yes, I thought I'd cheer myself up after what had seemed to be a long week, although obviously it wasn't a long week because a week, as John has so rightly pointed out, is a week, i.e. 7 days. And it doesn't lengthen or shorten at all in any real, appreciable, timious sense.
Get on with it.
But I felt like I was having a bad. I thought, I'll cheer myself up. And what does a girl do? Well, didn't have a vibrator, so I bought myself a bottle of Southern Comfort.
You do have vibrators.
Most of which... No, but they're for Kenya. I can't take them used vibrators, John.
I
suppose I could.
We'll pass over used, but when you were in Edinburgh, at the Edinburgh Fringe last year, you bought, was it like 30 vibrators from Poundland?
Yes, they still have them. Poundland, Shepherd's Bush has them. And they're very good vibrators. They're called bullets. They're about that long.
For our listeners, that's...
Oh, so about 6 inches long.
I feel emasculated.
And it's just a very plain, bog-standard vibrator. None of your bell ends or balls on the end of it, and it doesn't wiggle around. But it's your good, basic vibrator. I mean, as long as a girl can find her own clitoris, job done.
Well, no one else can. Do they actually in Poundland call these things vibrators? Do they call them massagers or something?
No, they call them vibrators.
And in which section are they? In the food
They're
section?
in the medical section.
Not the
in the medical section.
Not in the edible section.
No, you're... Why do you want to say they're in the edible section, John? They're plastic. You can't eat plastic. They're plastic with a space for bulletins, with a space for a battery inside. Now, it's been a lot, unless you're one of these ghastly children that used to get fun licking batteries and giving yourself a little electric shock, then no, you don't eat batteries and you don't eat plastic. So why would they be in the food section?
I have this vision of sort of growing up in Glasgow with children licking vibrators. I think we should...
No, batteries, John, batteries.
We should go on to something else.
Batteries.
Yes.
I did say licking batteries, not vibrators. You suck a vibrator.
I had to point out, I don't, but that's being pedantic. What were we talking about before we got sidetracked into this?
Oh, me getting shit-faced last night.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
that's,
so
much more sensible.
it was crazy because we had the absolutely brilliant Sajila Kershi and the wonderful Daphne Barham doing previews of their kind of work in progress of their Edinburgh shows, which I thought was fascinating because they were both shows were not unformed, but they really were still being worked on. And Sajila in particular was very interactive with the audience, asking the lovely audience, which should I put this story in or this story in? And I think for people who don't go to comedy very often, that's a fascinating thing. It's a fascinating insight, as long as the comic is a good comic, not if it's just some ghastly, talentless little shit doing terribly unfunny jokes and telling you it'll be all right on the night, because you basically know it won't be all right on the night. But people like Sajila and Daphna, it's interesting to see the workings that go into it, because they're smart women.
She was saying, I overheard you saying that to one of them, I don't know which one it was, about how you were actually very interested and honoured indeed, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Because it takes a degree of trust for a comic to put a show out in front of one, if it's not ready. And it also shows that they think you will understand, and you will be able to look through the kind of fannying around, that's a technical term, back to vibrators again, and see what the show could and hopefully will become.
So do you think it's...
Why are you looking at me like that, John? He's looking at me in a funny way, listeners.
He was doing... She indeed was doing bizarre hand movements.
I wasn't.
I didn't fully understand.
I was just...
I think the tape will show, but... lad. Anyway, so... You absolutely have to do previews for Edinburgh, don't you? Because it's so important, and it's an hour long.
Well, do you, John? Do you? Do you really?
I mean, people do the circuit. It's like sort of 20 minutes or half an hour at most.
Yes.
And whereas Edinburgh is an Edinburgh hour is about 55 minutes, so it's actually to do twice as long is actually more than twice as hard, isn't it? To actually get a structure to it.
I mean, I believe that people frequently over preview. You know, you see people in January going, it's an Edinburgh preview. It's...
Is that child being tortured?
I hope so. I really hope so. I'd like to go out and torture it some more.
I only envision. Can you over preview?
I think you can over preview, because...
You're too slick,
There's something... If you are in... he says that he's never eaten a single... This is a... crunchy biscuit.
Cadbury's Crunchy Biscuits. From Poundland.
From Poundland. And he says he's never eaten just the one. That's, what's his name? Barry Cryer's... yes, we're back to that. Barry Cryer's favourite phrase. When you go to the pub with Barry, he always goes, shall we go in and have just the one? So as Barry Cryer is to beer and spirits, you are to chocolate.
Chocolate biscuits, and crunchy chocolate biscuits in particular. Anyway, so
yes, I think that
over preview.
Especially, you go to the Fringe. I think I like to get close to comedy, to see it a bit, red in tooth and claw, and I like to see things, if you pardon the expression, a little loose. We're back to the after effects of that bottle of Southern Comfort again. And I think there's an excitement, unless, you're doing certain specific kinds of show. Did you see Alexis Dubus?
No.
Oh, my God. That was a phenomenal, beautiful, fabulous show.
Was he being himself?
Which I will never forgive myself for not seeing until the very last week. I should have seen it in the first week. It was in rhyming couplets.
But was he being himself?
And he was being himself. No, not Marcel Lucot. No. And it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that obviously needed to be rehearsed over and over again, because it was and it needed to be word perfect and nuance perfect. But if you're, chuntering on for 50 minutes about this, that, and the next thing, I think it's quite nice to leave it a little bit loose, to allow freshness to creep in. And, I can't believe, and storytellers, I can't believe Matt Price rehearses for months on end and then previews the living shit out of his lovely, meandering, storytelling, wonderful shows.
Yes, because Matt Price almost epitomises like the new comedy, which is that people are telling stories and not gags. So they're not not like Tim Vine or anyone, just doing gag, or Ted Ray in Days of Yore.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, any people like Milton Jones and that then that's a question of rehearsing because it's a massive feat of memory. And that's a different thing. But people who are, as I say, just kind of chuntering on, it needs to be fresh. And you're doing it 28 days in a row, 21 days in a row. And the last thing, it's a very unpleasant thing to see a comic on autopilot. It really is.
I can't mention the name.
Yes, you can. Go on. Mention the name.
No, I can't.
Mention the name. Mention the name. Mention the name. Mention the name. Mention the name.
I'm going to cough now. See what you've done? After the Fringe,
mention the name.
After the Fringe in Camden,
mention the name.
I saw someone do a show, and he'd done it too often. He was bored with his own show, and he admitted it to me afterwards. He was bored with the show because he'd done it for 28 days in Edinburgh, and then a month later he was doing it in Camden. He just wanted to move on to something else. Well, what happens if
Lewis Schaffer?
As if he does the same show over and over again. I mean, what happens if you do over rehearse it or over preview it? I mean, does it just become?
I think it becomes stale. I think you become stale. Right. And if as a stand-up, if you're not interested in and excited by and entertained by and hopefully amused by your own show, then why the hell should anybody else?
Can I also point out that you brought up Lewis Schaffer this time, not me?
I said yes. Well, I felt I hadn't mentioned him for a while, so safe. He's doing the paid. Is he not doing a paid venue?
He's just doing a fiver. Well, he's doing a fiver in Edinburgh and then 10 quid, I think, at the Museum Comedy in London. Or it was certainly 10 quid at Leicester Square Theatre.
People will start demanding their money back.
Or thinking he's famous. Yes. So there you go. Anyway, so we're thinking of we're thinking of previewing 2 Grouchy clubs, aren't we, at your excellent Emporium? I'm not sure if this is a good idea or not, because you can't really...
It's just us chuntering on. It's like this. This is really a Grouchy Club preview. Yeah. It's just us chuntering on about... and then, I suppose what would be nice would be if anybody came to see it here, and then, because everybody... If you've got a decent show, then every single person that sees it is a walking, talking flyer. So I suppose one of the reasons for previewing is that everyone who sees it will maybe tell their friends who are going up to Edinburgh. I know some people, although it's very risky, try to get reviews of a preview to use in Edinburgh.
I think that's a terrible idea. I think what people might think about doing is, say, going up to the lowlands of Scotland in like January or March and trying to get the list or some local publication to do a review or even just give them a few words, because then they can quote those on the posters. But I think it's very risky to be seen in London.
And generally speaking, what people do is they just slam a quote which was about the show they did in 1994.
Yes, because the trouble is the Fringe deadlines are so far ahead of everything, aren't they? So you have the actual getting in the programme is so far ahead. No one actually knows when they write their programme synopsis what the actual show is. We were saying the last podcast that I'm all for people taking my words out of context and all of that. Yeah. I'm all for that. What I really don't like. Yes?
What's the price?
The price of what?
The lizard one.
It's £6.
£6. Thank you.
We're in the shop. Sell.
It's reality. It's reality.
Yes, I'm all for people taking my words out of context or using the phenomenal power of the ellipse. What I dislike intensely is people using quotes from 20 years ago.
But they have to really use quotes from last year, don't they? Well, because they have to get their posters made in like May or something, and they haven't got their show together to be previewed, to be reviewed by August.
You see, it's the people being enthralled to. I mean, there was one...
And I was going to say, and the printed posters have to have old quotes on because they have to be made before the Fringe starts, obviously by definition. But they then plaster on the up-to-date quotes in strips, don't they, with copious stars.
I don't think they never really put quotes. They just slam pointless stars all over the place. But it's, again, this is about the obsession with press quotes and stars.
I mean, Chortle did do some... do you think we should still have stars?
Yes.
And I don't quite know who answered it, but I think the comedians were allegedly against it. I'm not sure I believe that, and the public were vaguely for it. The public have to vaguely know at a glance if it's going to be good or bad. I don't know.
Why do they? Especially, for example, if it's on the free Fringe, it's free.
Yeah.
You go in, you see the first 10 minutes. If it's shit, you leave.
I mean, the thing about the previews, of course, is it's like what they do in the film industry, which is they have talker screenings. Indeed, I'm going to one on Monday called...
Are you?
Oh, yes, it's called We're All Going to Die. I can't imagine what that's going to be like. It's going to be... I believe it's got some comedy in it. We're all going to die, apparently. And then it's not released until Friday. But sometimes they do talker screenings, which means that you screen it to the public, members of the public, and then they go off and talk about it, and therefore the word of mouth gets round. And they usually do it... This looks a very dull film, I have to say. I saw the trailer, but presumably the distributors got faith in it, because the talker screenings, they show films that they think... aren't automatically going to get big bucks like the Transformer movies, small films, which are actually high quality. And when people know what they are, they might go and see it. So they do talker screenings. So I suppose it's the same with...
Do you want to just say talker screenings again? I don't think you've said it enough.
Oh, that's rather brutal, I felt. But she's a critic. What can I say? She's a critic.
So you go and then you talk.
It must be awful being a critic.
You talk about it. It's wonderful, John. It's wonderful.
Word of mouth. It's just to generate word of mouth, which is...
Because I've been to see what they also do is they'll put out a show, put out a film. People won't see it, and then you get given a questionnaire. Did you think the ending was good?
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
I've actually never seen that in Britain. I know they do that a lot in America.
Yes, I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done it a couple of times. They kind of
yeah.
Largely because
you're important. Why? You're important, and I'm not.
I was reviewing films for someone.
Oh, I didn't know this.
For the erotic review.
Oh, good grief.
No, I was reviewing film.
They wanted different endings. You just climax at the climax.
No, it wasn't porn films. I was reviewing for Good Morning with Anne and Nick.
Good Morning with Anne and Nick.
Because the first little job I had with them was as their film reviewer.
Oh.
But I didn't keep that job long because I was insufficiently enthusiastic about a film called Carlito's Way.
Which is Brian De Palma minus, I think, really.
I think I said, I said Sean Penn's wig was the most impressive thing in it. And I was sat down and it was explained to me that when you're doing these cuddly sofa reviews, unless you're nice about the film, they don't ask you to review anything again. So I was putting the entire film reviewing sequence of Good Morning with Anne and Nick in jeopardy by not being sufficiently enthusiastic.
But have you ever had a comedy review that someone said, "Oh, you're a bit brutal here. You must stop being so brutal in your reviews"? I
didn't review comedy on Good Morning with Anne and Nick.
On anything, then papers or anything.
No, but in no. The whole point, the papers are different. Because I think Good Morning with Anne and Nick was by definition very cuddly.
Yeah. It's just for anyone listening to this abroad, it's just a run of the mill sort of. It was a run of the mill just morning breakfast show
on
TV.
Run of the mill?
Or Pebble Mill.
It was ahead of its time. No, it wasn't. It was
hey. But we're now being interrupted by the incredibly glamorous
turn. Yeah.
Njambi McGrath.
Oh, she's looking gorgeous. Oh, clanking.
Alcohol.
The lady has alcohol. Come and say hello. You have to come here.
Oh, hello.
Now this.
Luke, alcohol.
Yeah. Oh,
Luke, the labels.
Yes.
Throw in the label.
I have to point out that I was told I'll be thrown out of the building if I allowed Copstick to touch any alcohol today at all.
All right.
I got shit-faced last night. Practically an entire bottle of Southern Comfort.
Oh, no.
I don't remember getting home.
Oh, wow.
Well, perhaps you didn't.
No, I did. I woke up in my own bed.
Oh, nice.
Semi-clothed.
How did that?
Semi-clothed?
That's my sister. I brought my sister.
Whoa!
Yeah.
The full family's
They're
here.
doing a podcast.
Yeah, we're doing a podcast. Now, last night we got. Tell us how much we got, Suad. Tell us how much we got.
Well, let me just say how pleased I am to see you still in one piece. We lost her yesterday because she had a bit of wine. And I was outside her house at 1 o'clock in the morning. Burning to see
A
if I
bit of
can
wine,
hear
that's
her
too
phone.
upmarket for us. Southern
Yeah,
Comfort.
really worried about it. We made 225 yesterday for Syria.
Oh.
So it was wonderful.
Isn't it fantastic?
One of
Wow.
Kate's friends was
It's usually-
amazing. Donated 50
Fantastic.
quid.
Oh, wow.
So-
Gosh.
Usually the money goes to Kenya, but last night it went to
Amazing.
Syria.
Okay,
And you got some
fair enough.
donations even before the show, didn't you?
Yeah, loads. Fit about £60 from my own personal friends that couldn't make it because of Ramadan.
lovely.
Yeah.
Well, so it's the high 200s. That's pretty good.
And it was Daphna and Sajila.
And so
Oh, how was
they were
it?
Fantastic, yes, but yeah.
Oh,
no,
fantastic.
it's a good
Well,
show.
some Kenyans say that they'll come,
Uh-huh.
and that means they'll be here at
And
10.
it also
Yeah, that's the only thing.
I know.
If it starts at 7, you have to say it's starting at 3.
Yeah.
Because they're always
true.
fashionably
Yeah,
late,
yeah,
even
yeah,
Moroccans,
that's
it's very true. Well, we'll be closed, so we'll leave them recording.
I know.
Right.
Somebody did turn up last night at 8:45.
Yeah, we actually
That was you.
locked the gate and we couldn't let people in, but they did.
Yeah.
They came late.
And Suad was fasting until
I still am.
But she brought a friend who was anything. She was like, because she was sitting there eating. I went, oh, you're not fasting then? She went, no, I've got asthma.
Yeah. It's this month that the Muslims come up with all kind of I'm pregnant, I'm on my period. It's only the very strongest of us that
But this is your worst day because tomorrow's the longest day. Tonight's the shortest night tonight, isn't it? So-
It isn't. I'm so used to it. This is not the first summer that I've actually done. It's not every month's like this. It's just it goes round every month.
Every year it goes back.
10
Yeah.
days, 10 days, 10 days.
Yeah.
So we go back again to December where it's
Oh,
like 3
December,
o'clock.
yeah.
But it takes a few years to get there, that's all.
Oh.
But
God.
once we're there, it'll be brilliant because it'll take another long good while before we get to the summer. So, and then I'll be dead by the time the next
Because
batch of summer.
everyone was sitting eating all this wonderful Turkish bread and hummus and everything, and
Great.
Suad sitting there.
Fantastic.
I, of course, got a straw and a bottle of Southern Comfort.
A straw? Why a straw?
Oh, I'm perfectly safe. If I have one drink, I'm perfectly safe.
Yeah.
If I have 2 drinks, 3, I start to remember how fabulous alcohol makes me feel, and that's it. I'm a lost cause.
But I used to drink Southern Comfort because there's a time I was studying in America, and I stopped on the grounds of my liver.
Yeah.
How many did you have last night then?
Well, I had most of a bottle. What's left is over there. The bottle's over there. So I had probably 2/3 of a bottle.
There was a point where you were curled on the floor and I couldn't waken you up.
What?
And no, you were curled behind the till and I couldn't waken you up and I thought, well, at least there's a blog in it.
Oh my God!
Anyway,
I passed out.
I think we'd better actually give up on this, haven't we? Because it's degenerated, as they usually do, but degenerated in a good way because the acts arrived.
Marvellous, yes.
So that'll be the end of that.
So, oh no, too late. By the time it's up, it'll be too late to tell them to come down. But come and see another one. Lots of marvellous people. Not all as marvellous as Njambi, but then you can't expect that.
And although it's not linked to at the moment because it's really just for the performers, but if you go to grouchyclub.co.uk, there will be a link now to
You're speaking off camera.
I know, but then for the sound people, it doesn't matter.
He was off camera, listeners.
www.grouchyclub.co.uk will have a link to the page showing who's on when.
You can hardly hear us above the background noise now.
I know, at least the baby's gone. Someone's probably killed him. Okay, so we switch this off now, don't we, in a sort of exciting way?
Do we?
We do.
Is that it?